You've probably thought about running out of money in retirement, but what if the real risk isn't dying too early, but living too long? You see, most retirement plans work absolutely beautifully right up until the time that you don't die. Because if you hit 85 or 90 without a plan, your choices shrink really, really fast. And the cost for housing and medical care and emergencies can absolutely destroy everything you've worked so long to accumulate. So this video is going to break down your core fears around longevity and what you can do to understand the risks of running out of money, health, and purpose so you can plan with clarity and turn a longer life into a better one. If money alone ended risk, then really wealthy retirees, they wouldn't feel uneasy. You see, if hitting a number really eliminated risk, then none of us would ever feel uneasy, and that's just not the case. Because a number, it's not the number. The number never really answered the question that you got. The number only told you how much, but it didn't tell you for how long. See, people hit that number, that savings, retirement number, that bucket of gold we've all thought about, but then they watch it like a hawk. They check it, they compare it, and they hope it holds up. You see, that's not confidence, that's quiet dependence. You see, what changed? It wasn't the money, it was the time. You see, real life doesn't follow this really simplistic, clean retirement curve. Life happens. People move. Kids come back. Parents get sick. Bodies change, and your energy rhythms, they alter as well. You see, for all of us, some years are cheap and some years are not. But too many financial plans treat every single year as an average. It assumes you will need the same, spend the same, and feel the same. You see, but time doesn't repeat itself, and it kind of stacks up. Most retirement stress, it doesn't feel like panic. For most of us, it feels like hesitation. Questions like, do we travel this year or do we wait? Do we fix the house or do we wait? Help the kids or do we hold back? Do we save or do we spend? None of these feel like emergencies, but every single decision can shrink and narrow our choices in the future. Not because the money is gone, because the years are. You see, the last decade of life is often the most expensive one, not in really dramatic ways, but in super quiet, hard to recognize ones. See, more appointments, more help, more convenience, and a lot less patience or a lot less tolerance. At that age, we just don't want the hassle. That financial plan assumes that that time will look like today, and it won't. You see, those years will look slower, smaller, and a lot more dependent. And truthfully, they will last longer than most of us expect. You see, here's the part that most of us never see coming. Those early decisions that we made, as we age, become really a lot harder to unravel and to take back. Where you live, how much you need, what you rely on. You see, none of those are like financial things in your life, but they're the structure, they're the foundation of your everyday life. Those decisions, time locks them in for every one of us. Even in my own life, I didn't realize how many decisions leading up to retirement would lock me in and become so difficult to undo later. In my case, it was caregiving. I thought that once, most importantly, jumping in and taking care of my dad, that when that time passed, I could easily, readily jump back into and just plug back into my career. And I couldn't. See, that kind of risk, I know for all of us, it feels really, really unfair. You see, you did everything right. You planned, you were careful, you took the necessary steps. Now the biggest risk isn't that you did something wrong, it's just that life ended up lasting a lot longer than you had anticipated. So that makes it feel unfair. But you know what? It's also real. So let's think of an example. We have two people, two portfolios, the exact same amount of money. But one has to manage against 15 years. And the other one has to manage against 30. Same assets, but very different exposure. One feels incredibly relaxed, and the other one feels incredibly trapped. And it's not because one was reckless, it's because time is. See, it's impossible for math, just those sterile calculations, to capture how it feels to live inside of time. You see, spreadsheets can show balances, but spreadsheets don't show patience. Spreadsheets don't show stamina. Spreadsheets don't show change. They can't capture what it feels like to watch money instead of being able to actively earn it. They don't show what "don't mess this up" for 30 years, day in and day out, does to your brain. People don't stop spending because they want to. They stop because they stop thinking in remaining years in terms of future ones. And that shift changes everything. You see, the real retirement question isn't how much did I save, it's how many remaining years do I have? Most plans try and fit you into a very tidy little space, but long lives are anything but tidy. See, this isn't about fear. This is about clarity. The greatest risk in retirement is not running out of money. The greatest risk is living long enough to discover that the plan you assumed didn't. So as you think about your financial plan and planning for the future, just think about this. Every choice that you make owns you for longer than you think. You see, that financial plan shows you balances, it shows you probabilities, it shows you projections. It never shows you how long a choice actually owns you. A house, it doesn't just cost money, it commits years. A lifestyle choice doesn't just burn money, it reduces runway. An income source that you rely on, it doesn't just pay, it locks up timing. So once you see this principle, you're never going to be able to unsee it again. So look, enough was never about a number. It was always a relationship about what you're locked into and how many years that lock will have to hold. You see, that's the irony. That's why some people with modest savings feel calm. And that's why others feel incredibly and consistently, constantly uneasy. You see, feeling uneasy, they're not reacting to the money. What they're reacting is the reduction in flexibility. You see, this is where retirement quietly flips. While you were working, you'd ask yourself, hey, can we afford this? After time becomes precious, the question becomes, how many years will this take away from my options? Surprisingly, the question doesn't make things harder, it actually makes decisions clearer to make. As you think about it, long lives, they don't break plans because they cost more. What happens is it removes the flexibility in your plan. It removes the slack. See, long lives, they take away the ability to recover from your mistakes and the decisions that didn't, quite frankly, go your way. You see, most plans were built for neat, short futures. But for some of us, our lives can sometimes be long and, quite frankly, a little bit messy. So once you start seeing things through that lens, you'll stop asking yourself, hey, is the plan big enough? Is the number big enough? And you'll start asking, is the plan flexible enough to deal with time? This isn't about fear. It's really about what you measure. When time becomes the scarce thing, money stops being the only risk. And that's the part that almost no financial plan notices. But living longer quietly changes. So let's summarize and think about it this way. What this really changes is not what you buy or sell, but it's how you think about every commitment you've got to make. Instead of asking yourself whether, hey, does this thing fit in our budget? Does it fit in our budget this year? You start asking, does it fit in the number of years that we'll have to carry that decision? And many of us, we're going to find that the real safety in a long retirement, it isn't a higher balance, but in having fewer things that can't be changed as that time starts shrinking. So this has changed the way that you think about financial plans and money versus time. Do me a favor, would you subscribe? Pass this on to a friend.